are there any exercises which irritate your injuries?
My problem for heavy dumbbells.
I understand. Okay. All right then.
Because my stability is not good.
I understand.
But
Otherwise,
machines, no problem.
So, are you pretty good with flies? Flies okay, or is that pretty?
Flies okay, but not too much.
Not too heavy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I feel that this is going to be a great day for us to do some content. Right. Obviously, 3 coaches and trainers together. So it's good that we have this personal time together, and I think that it just goes to show that we may live in different countries, we may have athletes which compete against each other's athletes, right?
Train together with me.
Yeah. Yes.
Good. Thanks a lot.
But
Thanks, man.
I think it also goes to show that how much respect we have for one another. And just because I've been in the industry for a long time, I know that we can all learn from each other. This isn't just about you learning from me today. I'm trying to learn from you as well. Okay. So this is a great opportunity for me to be, with you guys today. You're very accomplished, very respected around the world internationally, and your accolades and your results with your athletes, just goes to show the professional experience that both of you have on an international level, when it comes to coaching. So today we're going to be doing chest. Obviously, both the gentlemen have some issues that we have to obviously bear in mind. Very important that when you're training, you step into a gym environment, that you get to obviously know and understand each individual's mechanical setup, find out what irritations they start to experience from certain exercises. Make sure that when you are applying yourself or performing exercises, your selective choice of exercise has to be individual based. So obviously yourself, as obviously said just now, that dumbbells is an exercise which creates obviously instability. We want to stay away from that, so we will primarily be on focal points on machines. What I do want to do with machines, where possible, it's not always possible, we'll probably stay on machines which are independently allow us to perform the exercise on independent bilateral movements. So we will be performing exercises together, but at least we've got independent bilateral load, so that we can make sure that we keep each side under stress and load. Because if we go onto a machine where indirectly it's bilateral with its mechanical setup, we're more likely to neurologically push on one side as opposed to the other side. Now there are advantages with that, and there's disadvantages to that. The advantages are that if you have irritation with some exercises, our brain will sense stress and load, and it will transfer stress and load. So we can deload the area which may be a problem. The problem with that is that we can start to create imbalances, okay? And we can also further the ability to aid with the process of keeping positive stress and load on an area which needs stress and load. Because, as you guys know, I've got injuries, and I know that when I go onto certain exercises, maybe if I was doing a leg press, I am trying to push really hard on my right leg, but that's my knee issue. My brain senses and transfers everything to my left side, so I don't get the same load and contractional forces. So in some cases, bilateral exercises are very positive. But what we'll do is we'll obviously bear in mind both of your injuries, and I think today's going to be a great educational point for everybody to be able to extract this information. And I'm incredibly grateful that I have my time with you, gents. And I'm looking forward today, not just training you guys today, I'm looking forward to, at some point on my next trip, we train together. And I'll be like, hey, I want to train with you guys today, and then you lead the workout. And the next time it's like, let's train together, and then you lead the workout. I think it would be great, obviously, content for people to see us obviously communicating and collaborating. And it also gives me the opportunity to learn from you gents as well, okay?
It's an honor for me. Thank you so much.
Bom, galera, então já viu, vamos treinar junto com o homem. Precisar de uma dose bem caprichada. Você sabe que no dia do treino mais pesado.
First for me, 16 kilos.
60 kilos.
It's too much.
Okay, yeah, that's heavy.
É uma direto,
That's not even, you know, that's not
e
right.
outra eu vou jogar aqui dentro
If you were to use,
para ir
say,
dando gás durante o treino. E para você que não conhece, nosso novo pré-treino M5 da linha Monster Probiótica, lá no site Probiótica, com o cupom PACHO para ter aquele desconto. E olha só, esse mês e o mês de julho, quem comprar no site Probiótica, compras acima de R$ 199, utilizando o cupom PACHO, concorre a R$3.000 em suplementos. Então dá para vocês montar um belo de um kit. Então você que está precisando comprar suplemento, site Probiótica, linha Monster ou linha Probiótica, com o cupom PACHO acima de 199, concorre a 3.000 suplementos.
So, what we're going to do is we're going to break down and pre-fatigue and prime their chest from a first exercise, which is going to be based on an isolated movement. So we're going to do cable crossovers. The reason why I'm going to do that is because both these gentlemen are strong. Both these gentlemen obviously have exercises which can put them in a vulnerable position. By pre-fatiguing your chest first from an isolated movement, and today it's going to be cable crossovers, what we're able to do is indirectly concentrate independently, okay? We're going to be able to unilaterally connect and break down each side. They will feel that if there's any imbalances, the brain will pick it up and it will more likely change them and recompose them back into the movement. We're going to pre-fatigue so that when we go on to our first pressing exercise, they're not going to be able to use as much weight because they are physically already in a negative state here. So what will happen is we'll be able to use less weight, but we will be able to maximize stress and load because the stress and load will stay actively on their within their chest cavity. However, we need to make sure that our centric is about 2 seconds. It will probably go down from 2 to 1 seconds as they start to tire. It's very normal. And we need to make sure that we're really contracting and contracting as we're pressing through the movements, all right? So the first exercise is going to be cable crossovers. Even if you did not have any imbalances, even if you did not have any issues with exercise selection because of injuries, this is still an incredible way to train that I actually train a lot of my athletes who are underdeveloped with their chest. So a lot of my athletes which are underdeveloped with their chest, I will then put them onto it's not necessarily pre-exhausted, but priming their chest and breaking down the chest cavity on an isolated movement like pec tape, cable crossover, fly, before I potentially put them on the press and movement. The only negative with it is mentally, obviously us guys want to be strong, all right?
Yeah.
So we don't want to lift less than what we know that we could if we were at our strongest point. So don't get caught up with the fact that you will be using less weight when we come to press. Think about the fact that we'll see an uptake in muscle stimulus within our chest because that is where the load is going to go. And also remember, certain exercise selection, especially with back or chest as a prime example, there can be front deltoid and tricep activation on pressing movements when it comes to chest, okay? So try to make sure you defer from that and your mind is always connected with the contractional stress and load. You're engaged, you are in control of the weight, okay? So remember, make sure you don't let the weight control you. Make sure you control the weight.
Não percam, eu tô assim. Fala aí, Pacho.
A gente ficou contando as horas, né?
Nossa senhora, será um treino.
E eu não sabia que ele ia treinar junto, né?
Exato, uma honra, não esperava que ele fosse treinar junto, então só tenho a me deliciar com esse treino e testemunhe, porque eu vou tentar me matar hoje.
We was very happy, but when we know if you train together,
All right.
more than happy.
All right, okay. Okay, setup with cable crossovers is important. When I mean setup, it's very important when you select your posture position, depending on whether you're trying to hit upper, mid, or lower pectoral would depend on indirectly where your movement pattern would be, okay? So kind of upper, mid, and lower. Now, depending on what origin areas that they feel they need to target or what origin areas are kind of unstable due to injuries, all right, then I'm going to let the guys choose that movement pattern, not necessarily where they feel that they're the strongest, but they definitely know creates the most amount of activation, okay? So don't always just get caught up with weight, get caught up with activation. That's where you need to make sure that you're focusing on. Make sure you're controlling. Great thing about cables is there's stress and load throughout the entire movement, because as obviously the cable gets pulled, there's going to be constant tension there. So there's never a time that tension isn't there unless they were indirectly rest pause in here or rest pause in here. I actually like to rest pause in this position, which is actually a disadvantage, because when you're in this position, you are constantly in load. But I like this position for me. I like to stretch out. One thing I want to make sure you guys and girls don't ignore is the importance of making sure that you are putting your time into mobility exercises and warming up correctly. I'm not a massive advocate of overstretching. You need to make sure that your joint health in your shoulder is very positive. So you don't have to go so far back that your shoulder blades are literally screaming at each other. As long as you feel that stretch in your chest cavity and within this area, okay? Remember, anything more than a positive movement is going to overextend that shoulder, which is not great for shoulder health in general, okay? So make sure that you're aware of those things. We're going to obviously use a very light weight, going to get the guys to do like 20 reps. I'm not going to get them to squeeze and contract yet. Probably on this third warm-up set, we'll start squeeze and contract and just get some movement going. What we'll do is we'll probably do 20 reps, increase the weight slightly, 20 reps, increase the weight slightly, do 15 reps, increase the weight slightly, do 10 reps. Now, they're not pre-exhausting, they're priming mentally, physically, get synovial fluid, joint activation, movement pattern, and blood flow, all right? But when they are finished their warm-ups, then we will be going into our working sets, and of course, then they are going to be challenging themselves. So guys, I don't mind if you're pulling high, whether you're pulling mid or whether you're pulling low. Whenever you get the best contraction or you're the most stimulus, okay? I'm just gonna grab my wraps and my belt. Okay, sometimes when you're performing your warm-up set, especially like a cable crossover here, sometimes you need a little bit more weight for you to be able to clean up your form. Sometimes when the weight is a little bit light, it's very difficult to actually correct yourself because you need a certain amount of resistance or a certain amount of load. So what we probably find is as we start to warm up, obviously the weight's going to increase, so movements are going to change slightly. I'm going to be changing Fabio's form a little bit. He was nearly coming through his deltoid a little bit as opposed to opening up. He was nearly going into a press as opposed to what would be like a cable crossover type of fly movement. But it's probably for two reasons. One, the weight might be too light, or because obviously he's obviously had a pec tear in the past on his left side, right? Left side, yeah. Left side. His obviously brain is obviously sensing that. So we're obviously going to increase the weight now. If you watch me, I'm definitely flying, okay? I'm not pressing. So I'm not pressing, I'm flying.
Vamos lá. Escolher o ângulo favorável e vamos. Now no pain.
No pain.
No
Good.
pain.
Right. Much better.
Nothing.
Good. Excellent. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Good. Good. Perfect form. Excellent.
Some guys don't give attention for the mobility. I would like to say how important is the mobility to the bodybuilding.
Okay, so mobility and joint health in general, you have to prioritize. If you don't put those mobility drills into place, during certain exercise selection or certain muscle groups, you're not just going to find yourself, you're going to hinder your growth and development. You're also going to find that you're confined in yourself onto certain exercises. So some people which may neglect mobility drills and exercises and also say therapy work outside of the gym, because therapy work can have a really positive uptake when it comes to joint health and mobility in general, that they potentially will find that when they go to do certain exercises on back and especially biceps, they don't have the mobility and the flexibility to get into proper posture positions. Then what happens, they start to change their posture positions because they don't have the mobility ability, simply because they've neglected it. It comes down to neglect. It doesn't come down to the fact that you're building muscle tissue. What will happen as you build muscle tissue, your ability to have good flexibility or mobility is going to decrease because muscle is tight, all right? You're indirectly creating micro tears and positive scar tissue when we're training, but you need to break down that scar tissue with therapy work. You need to make sure you're doing your active therapy or active mobility drills before certain exercises. It's not just going to be down to injury prevention. It's going to help and aid muscle growth and also joint health in general. So there are so many different benefits. There's 3 or 4 benefits you have to prioritize mobility drills. Don't neglect it, because otherwise what's going to happen, it's going to take a lot of time to create those issues that you've created, and then you'll start to find you're getting frustrated because you have to change your exercise selection, you have to change your movement patterns, you have to put your time and attention into the mobility work and the active release, etc. And then you'll start getting frustrated because you think, I'm spending all this time and trying to put my body back into a proper state where your biomechanical setup and your posture position as far as your bone structure, etc., is in line, that it's going to be sort of negative on your mindset. So do not neglect it. It's so essential. It's more important than training itself.
I would like to know this 15 years ago.
I wish I did as well, because like for me, I lived in the middle of nowhere, right? The middle of nowhere. There was no physiotherapist, there was no form of massage, there was no, I didn't understand. And there was no rest, right? You'd pick an injury up, you'd wait for it to subside, and then you go to do the same shit that irritated it in the beginning. A lot of my issues are down to not bad form, not bad practice, but just naively not understanding the importance of mobility drills. I can remember when I first started training, I was an international swimmer. My mobility was crazy. I could bite my toenails. You know, I could put my basically hands and I'd be able to touch them, everything. My mobility was crazy. And not because I was a swimmer, because the type of training then was different, don't forget. You wasn't breaking down muscle tissue. But when I started bodybuilding, over a period of extended time, I couldn't get under the squat rack, you know, because of mobility issues. And I would say that a lot of my injuries are down to poor mobility, just down to innocence as opposed to neglecting. Understand? There's a big difference. You know, now we live in a world with social media and we have the internet. I'm sure that, you know,
more information.
We would have done things different. I'm glad that I was intelligent enough and smart enough all those years ago to change my training and train the way that I knew that I needed to. I just wish I also knew about the importance of mobility work and spending that time in therapy out of the gym.
Good.
Excellent.
And 5, 6, 7. Perfect.
Okay, so that's a working set. I didn't know how I was going to feel when I went into that set, but it felt good. And I felt very engaged and I felt in control of the movement. So that felt really good for me. Perfect. Yeah. You guys got that extra weight, whereas I'm. Yeah. There's not a rep range, guys. I'll see how strong you are. If I feel that we need to increase the weight a little bit, I'll see after it's on your hip. Right. Good. Excellent. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Good. A little slower on the negative. Good. Excellent. Okay, rack it there. Stop. Stop.
Stop.
Yep.
It's over.
Go there. So your strength is high. I don't want us to do like 20, 30 reps.
Yeah.
So keep the reps down about 12 to 15, okay? Excellent. Stay open, nice and open. Good, better. Good. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Form was good. How are they feeling? All right?
Yeah, okay.
So indirectly, it kind of looks like that we're doing bilateral, but it's unilateral, right? So we're performing the exercises at the same time, left and right, but because we got unilateral load, our brain is very good for balance. Allows us to make sure that both sides are working evenly, because our brain setup is indirectly going to make sure that we're always kind of staying in line. It's very unlikely we're going to be pulling uneven until we start getting to a point of failure where large motor unit recruitments are really struggling, and then you might find that your movement might change depending on where injuries are taking place. But both each at the moment, form is absolutely meticulous, perfect. And you also notice that we were very in control on the eccentric phase, so we never let the weight take away from us. We were always engaged. Good, keep working, stay engaged. Stay engaged, good, come on, work hard. Squeeze, definitely 2 at least, come on. Squeeze, keep working, do not stop. And again, and 1. Big push, good. Work hard, good. Strong. Good set, good set, good set. Incredibly strong there. Movement absolutely incredibly perfect. So what we did, about halfway through the movement, when I noticed his strength was really strong, I got him to actually slow down the negative, so he saw an uptake in activation. And probably about 1 or 2 reps later, all of a sudden, large motor unit recruitment kicked in really quick. So we can manipulate how much stress and load that we put on to indirectly that muscle group by controlling the eccentric phase, obviously making sure we're neurologically engaged all the time. So you can efficiently manipulate the environments you're in. What's going to happen a lot of times is that when we're training and we start to tire mentally and physically, our brain is going to start to want to change things. It's going to want to speed up the eccentric. It's going to want to change your movement pattern. You need to fight against that completely, okay? Completely fight against that and stay in line.
The timing of rest between sets.
Okay, I like to be about 90 seconds because there's the 3 of us at the moment and we're all trying to feel ourselves, right? Our rest is probably 2 minutes, but normally it'd be about 90 seconds. Now, I'm not saying it's always going to be 90 seconds because if I feel I'm recovered in 60, I'm going to take 60 seconds. I don't like to prolong resting periods because you're indirectly desensitizing yourself and you potentially start to lose that intensity and potentially increase the likelihood of an injury, because when a muscle goes too cold, what you can do, or what will happen, is obviously when you have those slightly extended rest periods, your strength is going to stay there. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's better for muscle growth and development, because why do we want to extend ourselves with our rest? Because we know it's going to be harder if we go sooner. So we try to make it easy for ourselves, right? And if we want easy options, then we're never going to progress, because we always have to be out of our comfort zone. We always have to be in an environment where we're physically challenging, mentally challenging, and not because we're trying to torture ourselves. It's one variable of many variables when it comes to progressive overload. People talk about progressive overload and say, every week you just need to lift more weight. No, that's just one variable of progressive overload.
Yeah, it's only one.
That's only one. You know, it could be the fact that, okay, how could you increase progressive overload? Keeping the same amount of repetitions and increasing the weight.
Yeah.
Yes? Yeah. Repetitions obviously has an active part. Controlling your eccentric,
time.
Mentally being engaged, physically keeping rest periods in a positive place. There are many variables of progressive overload. You can't just say it's sheer add weight. It could be extra weight, it could be extra repetitions, it could be the fact that you reduce your rest period. In the beginning, you'll struggle, but you do that to you do that, for instance, for a couple of weeks. What will happen is, let's say, for instance, we were engaged. Our intensity, everything was engaged. We take 60 seconds to rest. We do our second set, we lose 30% of our strength. Okay, could be normal, right? Yeah. You take 60 seconds, you lose 10% of your rest. You take 60 seconds, you lose another 10%. But over 3 weeks of training like that, you may only lose 20% strength, and then 5% rest, and then 5%. So what have you done? You've created another variable, right? A progressive overload. Yeah. But make sure when you are in the environment of creating positive progressive overload, don't just keep changing the variables because it seems cool, because otherwise you won't know what works. Like, both of you are incredibly intelligent, fucking meticulous, successful coaches and trainers. You don't change somebody's diet every day because you're finding what works, right? Yeah. So it's just like training. You have to give that training stimulus, that training program, time for you to get that data to find out what works and what doesn't work, yes? So there are many forms of progressive overload, and I think we just touched on all of them.
Perfect. Ou seja, estamos no caminho certo.
Squeeze, and again. Big push, big push. Good. Good. Right. What you'll probably notice when we've been training, I'm a massive advocate of this, but you've got to make sure you're putting that time into your warm-up sets. I know that as long as we put warm-up sets in properly and we efficiently do them, you're going to be at your strongest at the very beginning of your workout. The very first set indirectly should be your strongest set. Now, you can obviously extend that strength if you're overextending your rest period, which is something I don't like to do. So one thing I've noticed with each of us, we've actually lost repetitions with every working set. That's normal. Okay, some people pyramid upwards. I don't tend to do that because I do see the logic when it comes to injury prevention, but if you warm up correctly, injury prevention should be optimized anyway. Because you're going to be at your strongest at the beginning, that is when I go with my heaviest set. So what we've done, we've kept the weight the same. Sometimes you'll have to decrease the weight slightly. But what we've done, we've stayed within our target rep range. We've lost repetitions, but load and stress is maximized in every set. So it's been really good. Because if the guys were maintaining their strength or getting stronger, then there will be a number of different variables which have happened. Either they have mentally and physically not pushed and challenged themselves in the working set or sets before, or they're taking too much rest between working sets. It's got to be one or the other, but each of us have lost strength slightly, which is completely normal. So for me, it's like, hey, this is very productive, these working sets. We've done 3 altogether each. Good set. Good set. Good set.
Diferente. It's different.
Good. Slow in the negative. Slow. Stay there. Good. Perfect. Perfect. Stay there. Good. 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 Hey, I think us guys are going to be dangerous together.
Yeah.
We're going to have some nasty fucking workouts.
Yeah.
Você está curtindo esse vídeo comigo, Julião e Neil Hill? Então fica de olho no próximo vídeo que vai sair amanhã, que a gente vai dar continuação desse quadro aí, Monster Talks com Neil Hill, que está fantástico. Então fica de olho, amanhã sai o próximo e último vídeo.